July 21st to order. And first item,
You want me to make a motion?
will you make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from June 16th, was it?
I'd have to find it
Yep.
first.
Yes,
Yeah, make the motion for me, please, and I'll just, so moved. Because I don't have it up on my screen.
June 16th meeting minutes.
Thank you. So moved.
second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let's move right into the new school project updates. So we're going to receive an update from Texan first. And basically it's going to go around construction document progress and municipal approvals at this juncture. Eddie, Jeff?
Yep. All right, so hopefully you can see my agenda up here.
Yes.
Those of you who attended Friday morning's advisory consortium meeting, I apologize in advance. This is going to sound awfully similar, but we'll get into it. All right, so the first piece is the site utilities. The town has received proposals from contractors on the water main, and they have presented to the Board of Finance. It has been tabled to the next meeting, but we are expecting that next month's meeting that action will be taken on that. We have a coordination meeting tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock with the entire design team and with Aquarian and with Eversource and with the town to discuss the combination of trying to put the new gas main and the new water main into the same trench and all of the associated details so that we understand who's responsible for what and so that Eversource can give us an appropriate or accurate cost for the design and provision of the gas main.
Right.
Okay. For local approvals, first one, Zoning Board of Appeals. Actually, I believe we talked about this last month because it was June 1st that we went in to see them and they granted approval on the 5 variances we were seeking approval for. We have confirmation from the town zoning enforcement officer that nothing further is needed on planning. We met with zoning on July 9th. They had no significant issues that were brought up, and basically they kept us open just pending the discussion with the wetlands. So we've been in to see wetlands on June 22nd and July 13th. We have our next meeting with them a week from tonight on week from yesterday on July 27th. We've been working with the third-party approvers, reviewers, and to go through and address their comments. 2 of the 3 seems like we are in good shape. We have a conference call with the third, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to go through those in further detail.
Eddie, don't want to interrupt you. With inland wetlands,
No, please do.
We all received the copies of the comments today. And what I want to really understand, and I saw that the 2, we were fairly well satisfied their comments, and the third, you know, some of the language they use was, I'll deem it less than professional. But when they're stating you are incorrect or Malone McBroom is incorrect, are these based upon written standards or established standards for the mitigation of wetlands in the state of Connecticut? Or is this based upon, you know, what they like to see or guidance documents?
Darren, do you want to give your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I took a while to find the unmute button here since you put this up on the screen. In my mind, it's a matter of difference of opinion.
Okay.
And also digging too deep, I think, into treating the DEP stormwater manual like it's more a law than a guidance document.
Right. And I'm trying to get a sense of, you know, as design professionals, we tend to fall back on 2 things. There's guidance documents, and then there are established codes. Codes we absolutely have to follow unless we are asking for a variance from the code. Guidance documents are open to interpretation and how the designer sees it best fit a particular project.
Yeah, that's correct. And, as we've mentioned, and I think we're all aware of, this site has quite a few constraints that we're dealing with. And we're doing the best we can to fit it to the site. There's no doubt there is some additional, standards I would love to be able to meet, but we don't have the space to do it.
Okay.
So I did speak with Deep staff today in their stormwater division, the head of the group that would review our stormwater general permit. And I sent them our site plans and our stormwater report last week. I had a good conversation with him. He understands our site constraints and basically said, you need to be able to do what you can, document what you meet of the standards, what you cannot meet due to site constraints. You need to properly document why, and we will grant you a permit.
Okay.
It was pretty straightforward.
That
All right,
seems
and
quite
you-
reasonable.
In your professional opinion, are we leaving the site in better condition than we find it?
Yes.
So
There's no
we're
question about
improving.
that in my mind.
We're improving an existing site, and it's not something that we can't get it to 100%. But if we get it 85% of the way there, we're leaving it in better condition than we found it.
I believe
Anybody
it's-
else have any comments on inland wetlands? All right, Eddie, you can go on. Thank you. for the
Okay,
time.
yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure I leave a little spot for people to ask questions or comments for each of these before I move on to the next topic. Okay, on the state approvals, last week we responded to the review comments received from the state OSCGNR with their comments on the design development package, working with them to make sure that everything is done to their satisfaction, but we believe we've addressed everything. The only piece that we haven't at this point is the flood management certificate. Ilona McBroom has completed the application and is ready to go. We are still waiting. OSCGNR and DEEP are still have not given us official direction on who the applicant is. We believe it is the town, but we are waiting on that.
Okay.
All right. And any questions on that?
Not for me.
All right.
Is
Andy,
this
you
to
there?
accommodate
Okay.
one of those once every 100-year floods that we've had like 2 or 3 of in the last 10 years?
Something like that.
Yeah, Paul's been involved in some of those, the ones on Meadowbrook Manor.
So the FMC, we're actually designed into the 500-year standard
Yep.
as far as piping these streams through the site. So we have to meet 500-year under the state funding requirements.
Okay.
Thank you for the
So
clarification.
Rob, if you're around for that 500-year one, I owe you a steak dinner.
I'm looking forward to collecting on that from you, Paul.
I'm looking forward to giving it to you.
Okay, site logistics plan. So ONG has been working, Laurel in particular has been working very hard on this. We have at least a concept for phase 1, which is construction of the new school while the existing school remains in operation. We are currently working on the subsequent phases. So that is in the fall of 2022 when the new school is open and the existing school is not finished with demolition. And then as we get into the site restoration and the remainder of the fields and site work and planting. So we have a little bit more to do on that before we show it to the world, but we're making good progress. Laurel,
Right,
do you
and-
have anything else you'd like to add on that? Sorry, Paul, didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. We did just receive it shortly ago from
Yep.
ONG. We'll distribute it out to the balance of the NBC, and we're going to regroup on August meeting to discuss everybody's concerns. It just wasn't in a place for, too quick of a turnaround time to discuss it tonight. But look for it in the next day or two. We'll send it out.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Laurel, I mean, that's the 500-foot view. Anything else you want to say on the site
Yeah, no,
logistics?
you did a great summary of it, Ed. It's basically there's basically 4 phases of construction. And the first phase is going to be the building of the new school. The second phase, we'll call it that summer, that intermediary summer when they're moving out of the existing school into the new building is when I'd be constructing a parking lot. The third phase will be the demolition, the abatement and demolition of the existing building. And then the fourth phase, we'll call it a return to the site the following spring for any planting, site restoration, because we're going to run out of workable, what will be left is all the site work. So we're going to need to return the following spring. So when you see the site logistics plans, there's going to be 3 phases, not 4 as far as plans go, because that fourth phase, it was not going to require any fencing or gates or any sort of traffic. We won't be staging on site. So you won't see a site logistics plan for that last phase, but you'll see 3 phase plans to show where fencing is going to go, where we're going to set up on site. And those documents actually will become part of the bid documents, and that's what we include. So the bidders know exactly what's going on with the constraints of the site and where fencing is going to be.
Great, thank you.
Great. Okay. The hazardous materials proposal, I won't get into that because I know Jack Butkus is going to be covering that later. So the recap on the project schedule. So let me pull that up. All right, Laurel, here we go. Is that big enough for you to see?
Well,
That's
okay,
better.
yeah, that's better.
That's
So,
better. All right.
That's
if
There
any-
we go.
Yeah, if anybody has had a chance to take a look at this ahead of time, the whole point of this particular schedule, well, it doesn't have to be that big. The whole point
right.
of this is to keep track of any sort of approval process. As everybody's well aware, it's a state-funded project, so there's all kinds of hoops we have to go through to get the state's approval to go out to bid. So we keep track of all those items that are critical. We've also added on some advisory consortium meetings so that this way people are aware of when we're going to be, presenting at those, when estimates are going to be done. So this is just an overall guide to get us to where we need to be. You'll see there's a couple of estimates coming up. We got our next one, the 50% CD estimate. It's going to start around the middle of August. So about a month from now, we're going to be doing another price check. I put on their Board of Ed update presentation. I don't know when you want to do it, but I knew there were some questions that they had at the last update with they were concerned about the canopies or the look of the canopy. So it's up to you guys if you want to do that presentation, but I just put it there so we don't forget about it. And you want to scroll down just a little bit?
Yep.
So we're looking at trying to get to these approvals. You'll see item A 1050, it says MBC BOE approvals. There's going to be a time frame where it's going to be very critical to have quorums and to approve the documents to go up to the state. So we're targeting to get up ahead of the holidays. So you see that November 17th, 18th, those are going to be critical dates. So we'll keep reminding everybody of that as we get closer. And then next, we're trying to track the permitting just to make sure that we don't lose sight of anything. There's that flood management certification that I have firsthand experience of it delaying a job. It was our Nonawag High School project in Woodbury, and we got delayed probably 3 months because we could not get through this flood management certification process. And it's ironic that we're running into the same problem that this happened 2 or 3 years ago, might have even been 4, where they don't know who the applicant's supposed to be. The state says it should be the municipality, and then DEP says somebody else, and it's crazy. So we're going to keep an eye on this to make sure that we don't lose track of that. Another activity that I added on that maybe people may see is about these wells. We're doing some work around there's 2 wells on site that the school uses. And when we're excavating for the utilities, the new utilities off the street, that may be within a certain radius of the well. So we just want to make sure Department of Public Health knows what we're doing. So, everybody's on the same page there. So I threw some activities on there. Whether or not we need them, I don't know. as far as hiring this protection plan consultant, we don't know, but that's got to be determined. But again, we're just trying to track things that may throw a wrench into our schedule. And if you want to go down to the next page.
Sure.
Up, up, up.
Yeah, I'm there. You just got a delay.
I don't remember what's on the top of the second page. Okay, so
Obtain
there's some,
OSTA administrative. Yeah.
okay, so there's some more of the local approvals things. I'm not sure if we're going to need to get involved with wetland tree flagging. So again, these are just activities that we threw on here in case we needed to track them. And then the rest of it is just the bidding and contract award. And there's not much of a breakdown there for construction. This is just an overall idea of when we're starting and stopping. But you know, the important thing is all these other activities that get us to the construction process. There will be a completely different schedule developed for the construction that will be included in the bid documents as we get further along in design. So I don't know if anybody had a chance to take a look at the schedule or if anybody had any questions. And you should see this once a month. So if you're doing monthly meetings, we'll be updating this on a monthly basis.
Okay, so at the current stage, we are tracking on or close to schedule.
Right now, we are tracking on schedule. We're trying to get up to the state before the holidays so that we can get out to bid before the holidays. If we get stuck in the holiday mode going up to the state, it kind of makes sense just to wait to bid after the holidays, starting in January. I mean, we could put it on the street, but nobody's going to look at it, type of thing.
Just a
But we're
question,
trying, excuse me?
just a question. That November date is really close to the holiday, and I'm sure that anybody else is also going to be targeting that same date. Do we want to push it a little bit earlier?
Let me look
Is
at
that
my,
possible to push it a week or two earlier?
everything is pretty much, I got to go back and see what we gave for local review and whatnot. The process is there's going to need to be a local reviewer hired to review the documents once they're complete. And when they're done with that review, Eddie's team just needs time to update the documents, and then you need sign offs. So this whole process is taken into play. I'd have to go back. I can't see it on this screen.
You don't have to answer it today. I'm just questioning if it's possible. Can we push our meeting a week or two earlier to get it?
Oh,
in
okay.
the
I think I was
pipeline
just,
sooner?
yeah, I was aiming for your regular meeting, but if you want to do a special meeting,
So Rob, is your question, would there be value if we were to accelerate the schedule? I think this is
Exactly.
already accelerated from what we originally.
Okay, that's what I'm asking is, would it be
Yeah.
valuable to put it a week or two sooner just to get it into the pipeline faster to avoid the holiday delays? And if there's not, value in it, then I totally understand. I'm just posing the question.
Gotcha. So Laura,
Yeah,
if we could take a look to see if there'd be any value to
yeah,
accelerating the schedule, and then we'll have that, I guess, discussion at August's meeting, Rob.
yeah. When is Thanksgiving this year? Is it the following week?
It's the following week, yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
late.
this
The
is the,
following week.
so this is the
Yeah.
Tuesday and the Wednesday, the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Okay. So both the NBC and the Board of Ed would be willing to have a special meeting?
If there's value in it, yes.
Okay.
And again,
Okay.
it's up to the design team too, because I know
Right.
every time we move the date back, it shortens their condocs phase.
Right.
Yep.
All right, so I don't know if
Okay.
anybody else has any other questions.
Nope.
Okay,
Thanks, Laurel.
All right.
you're welcome.
Great. Thank you, Laurel. Appreciate it. Okay, so the design progression, as was mentioned about the Board of Ed, we are continuing to work on the comments that we received last month, in particular about the front entrance and trying to soften up the canopies. We've also submitted to the MBC proposals from third-party firms to do either photorealistic renderings or a physical model of the project. So those, I don't know if those are going to be covered later on this evening or next month, but those are at least in your hands.
Yeah, I think we're
The next
waiting
one-
for we're waiting to see the update on the exterior renderings.
Sure.
You know, before we decide what's necessary, I guess. Is it going to be a rendering? Is it going to be a model? Is it going to be both? But we want to know until we see the updates.
Okay. All right. We are also continuing to meet with the users and town agencies to get through some of the more detailed requirements. The first of which will be tomorrow morning. We will be meeting to review technology. On Friday, we will be meeting with both the Registrar of Voters and with Parks and Recreation. And on Monday, we'll be meeting with school staff and with the police department and fire department to go over security measures for the building. And we'll keep detailed notes on what is discussed and distribute for everybody to see. We also will be having future meetings to review finishes and furniture, but we have a little bit more work we need to do internally, Tecton with the design team, and also to show to the building committee a little more informally before we meet with everyone else.
All right. Hey, Eddie, on the meeting security technology registrar, could we
Yes.
get together a singular document which basically says, look, you know, I, so-and-so representing the town for, say, you know, registrar of voters, have reviewed the plans and find them suitable for our needs. They sign, we go to the next one, Parks and Recreation. We've reviewed the documents. So this way we have a running count and a running record. And it's not so much for now, because I trust that all the people now have, you know, will always stick to their word. But in years to come,
Yep.
you know, we heard it with the high school, Rob, if you remember, about, well, why didn't you do the roofs? Well, the roofs weren't included. They were included. And we have this whole back and forth for years afterwards. At least if we have the responsible people who are reviewing the plans sign off on the plans, it's a document we can go to in the future to say,
Sure.
hey, look, we did review it. It was approved at all levels in the town. It wasn't ramshot through by the Board of Ed or the NBC or the Board of Selectmen. It was a collaborative effort, and everybody had their say, and everybody had their input, and everybody approved it.
No, Paul, that's,
Yeah,
that's
that's
an
not a-
excellent suggestion.
Good practice.
So I guess question to you is if that's a singular document that has signature spots for all the different agencies, can we maybe get together to make sure we get the full list of everyone?
Sure, and I think, you know, once you get a full list of everyone, we should send it to the first selectman and the Board of Selectmen to make sure that we're not leaving anybody out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we've got these four, but I assume there's going to be some others that we're going to want to include as well.
Yeah, it should include the superintendent, the Board of Education, you know. I know we have those
Yep.
major players, but, and then, you know, chief of police, fire marshal,
Fire.
everybody else.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So, any other questions?
No.
Anything we forgot to cover? All right. Great. That's it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Eddie.
All right. Arcadis update. Jack, you there?
Good evening.
Good
I am
evening. How
here.
are you?
I'm well, thank you. A couple of items that we have in front of us tonight, or I'd like to have in front of us tonight for action. Eddie touched on one, being the environmental consultant proposals. We also, and I'm disappointed that Jack isn't with us tonight, but the other area that still needs to be brought to closure is the commissioning agent. And we're deep enough into design that we're overdue for a commissioning partner to review the documents and perform the steps that the state's expecting us to take. But Dan, is it possible that I might share my screen?
Sure, just 1 second, and you should be good to go.
Thank you. All righty, I will. call up the first order of business. The environmental proposals were shared with the entire committee, and it's as ridiculous as it looks. The real thrust of the document is getting down to this subtotal of services, where we have the aggregate fees. The two most attractive looking numbers are the second and fourth. We'll pull down to the headings, and those were for Eagle Environmental and Langen. Although all of the firms that responded are qualified to do the work. I know that when this was presented briefly at the June meeting, it was too much too soon, and the committee wanted an opportunity to review the proposals. But given the fact that we need the output from these consultants to accurately put a cost on the environmental work so that we could roll that into hopefully the 50% CD documents estimate in case there are any adjustments that need to be made.
Excuse me,
Yes?
Jack is here, okay? He just signed on.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Catherine, while we interrupted real quick, could somebody unmute Josh? They keep muting him as soon as he unmutes himself.
Okay, I'm not doing that, but
Okay.
Dan will do it.
Dan, I'll take
Sorry
care
about
of
that.
it.
Yeah, we've been getting a little bit of feedback from Josh.
No, there's interference. I don't know if it's clear now or not.
We can hear you fine.
Yeah, it had just been a little bit of feedback when you first connected. But as long as it's fine, we'll leave it unmuted then.
Great. Thanks, Dan. All right. Sorry, Jack.
No problem. So at this point in time, I'm hoping that the committee members have had a chance to look the proposals over in the last month. And I would encourage that there be a recommendation for award somewhere from the committee. As stated, there are items that are listed here as quantity and cost, others where there are costs, but the quantities really can't be determined at this point in time. So part of the review would be to consider not only what the subtotal looks like, but to have hopefully spent some time looking at the unit costs, either the hourly rates for labor or the costs for the different testing and inspection steps, which will become part of especially the construction administration portion of the project, where we're actually actively removing whatever they find needs to be removed.
Initially, this is going to be for the inspection and the test. And at that point, look, if we, we don't have to keep them on for the monitoring. If we don't, if for some reason we have an issue with them.
This is true.
So, it's, unit costs come into play at this juncture, except for sample results, right? For lab results.
Correct.
Do you have any particular experience either way with any of the two lowest firms?
The two lowest firms are actually working on some of our projects right now. I've got, I think, 3 or 4 active with Eagle. I'm working with Eagle and Langen in the town of Groton. Each has one of the 2 sister projects that we're doing down there right now. I could say that they're both performing adequately, admirably. I have nothing negative to say about either one of them. As I mentioned, I've got more personal experience with Eagle than I have Langen. This is my first opportunity to have worked with Langen. But they've both been responsive and I would say thorough in the work that they've done on the companion projects in Groton.
Yeah, and they're both equitable in their prices. Either side of $1,000, $2,000, depending on which line item you're looking at.
And Eagle's rates seemed a little bit more cost effective or efficient for us in the future if need be, the hourly rates.
Right.
So that could easily balance itself out if we're arguing about the $1,500 there.
All right, anybody else have any other input either way, one way or another?
I was,
Go ahead.
found the exact same things when I was crunching the numbers between Eagle and Langen. So I was just looking for any sort of profession, someone who has worked professionally with them to find experience. Because I'm happy to go with either one based on that.
Yeah, I did the same thing you did, Colette, crunching the numbers, looking for references, going through. I didn't find any real, it comes down to a coin flip.
Yeah, I looked through them all too. It looked, Eagle and Langdon looked like the most interesting. I've worked with Langdon, but not in this capacity, and my dealings with him in another task was very satisfactory, but it doesn't weigh much here. It's you know, it comes down to the two of them. If John has worked with them both, I don't think we can go wrong with either one.
I've got a quarter. Want to flip it?
So I'll make a recommendation based upon proposals received and due diligence, plus with consorting our specialists in this field, Jack. So I'll make a motion to award this to Eagle.
Sounds good to me.
Second,
Was that a second? I'll second it if not.
I thought we had a second, but I think we lost
I
Paul.
think,
I thought I unmuted for that.
You did. We
Oh,
we
okay.
we heard Rob second it, but I think Paul has disappeared.
Paul, come back.
Hey, while
There
we're
I
waiting,
am. Okay, sorry, I just gotten thrown off here, and let me get back to where I was on my screen. Exit full screen. There we go. All right.
In your absence, Josh made a motion for Eagle, which was seconded by Rob.
Great. All in favor? Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, so moved. Eagle it is. Jack, will you take care of the LOI and the notification?
I will do so. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Now, Jack, now that you've joined us, I thought we would loop back to the issue of the commissioning agent. I know Jack had called me and we discussed some of the details behind the proposals. I don't know if any of the other committee members had the opportunity to review the proposals, but we do need to act and get someone on board to work alongside the design team and manage the tasks that are required under the state requirements for high performance buildings. At this point, I can say that I've been involved in interviews with all of these firms. I've worked with some of them, others, Horizon and IES, I have not had the opportunity to work with. I work with Colliers and SES. They all have checked out as far as their qualifications. Generally speaking, I know that there were some areas where the envelope experience, the commissioning of the building envelope was a little bit light on well, IES said that they had somebody for envelope commissioning, but they really didn't point to experience in that area. So that was a concern. The others did show experience as well as provide the staff that we had asked for in that regard. And that is an area that is becoming part of the commissioning scope of work more and more frequently, is to not just deal with the mechanical equipment, but make sure that the building envelope, which is holding all those expensive cubic feet of conditioned air in and keeping the weather out. So it's been an important piece of the overall scope in recent projects. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have, or perhaps see
Yeah.
the proposal go forward.
Jack, for Colliers, there are many agreement edits. Is anything of note, or was it more just they passed it along to their council and decided to mark it up like every council likes to do?
Interestingly enough, the draft agreement that we included in the request for proposals package is one that Colliers has signed on previous projects. So I was quite
Okay.
surprised to see them come up with, with new edits that they were happy to have accepted in the past.
One thing I noticed, first of all, I've worked with Colliers. I have a lot of respect for them, some of the individuals that are in the firm, but and that would be my first choice. But I did notice that I think they were the only ones that actually broke out the hours they were going to devote to each task in the project. And I'm guessing the reason they're doing that is because I've noticed that frequently on these projects, when the commissioning agent gets told that a system is ready to be commissioned and he gets called out, he gets there and it's not ready. I mean, typically the instrumentation on that is not calibrated or pre-functionally tested and whatnot. And so he stands around for half a day, running off hours, and he gets nothing done. And then typically what they end up doing is coming back and asking for a change order. But I mean, if O&G is on top of that, I mean, there are things that they can do to mitigate that problem, particularly by focusing on the work that the controls subcontractor is doing, because he's going to really control this. But anyway, I think that's why Colliers broke their hours out, whereas the other ones didn't. The other bidders. But my first choice would be Colliers. The projects I've worked on with them, they've been excellent. I haven't worked with Horizon or Innovative Engineering. I have worked with some of the people with SDS, and they've been fine. But Colliers has been excellent, I think.
I can speak a little bit to it. I mean, we've seen, I've had Colliers on several projects recently, as well as SES on a couple projects as well, and both of those guys have performed well. I also don't have any experience with Horizon or IES.
Okay.
All right. And Jack, Ludwig,
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to, this is your wheelhouse. You're more than welcome to make a motion.
Well, I make a motion that we award the commissioning responsibility to Colliers International.
I would second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor of awarding the building commissioning to Colliers in the amount of $97,060.
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Abstentions? All right, hearing none, so moved. Thank you both, Jack and Jack.
Thank you. I know you have invoices later in the meeting. I don't know if you wanted me to share those documents when the time comes, or if.
Yeah, well, during the invoices portion, that would be great.
So,
they were forwarded to everybody when we received them today.
Okay, very good. Beyond that, I have been participating with O&G and the design team on the progress meetings. I can say that we're all pulling on the oars in the same direction. So that's encouraging. We are making progress, and again, as you discussed previously with the site logistics, there are a number of things that we would like to do, a number of iterations that preceded what was shared with the committee today, trying to maximize the opportunities for use of the site, both during construction of the new building, use of the site for the school, I should say, both during the construction of the new building and once they occupy the new building and we're still dealing with the removal of the existing building. And a lot of iterations in order to try to make that a smoother transition and provide them more site resources. And it's been a very collaborative effort to come up with this, delicate balance between giving O&G enough room to get their job done and realizing that we still have a school to run.
Right.
So that's
So
it.
thank
me
you for your
now.
efforts in there as well. It's much appreciated.
All righty then. Thank you.
All right. Now Laurel, Dave, I don't know if Dave's still on. Laurel, we had you guys giving a little update. I know you spoke quite a bit during Eddie's presentation. Do you have anything else to add at this juncture?
No, my primary function was the site logistics and the pre-con schedule, so we've discussed both of those.
Great. We look forward to really talking in depth in August with you guys, and having those discussions and seeing what shakes out with us, the school, and really trying to get this orchestrated well. It's a critical piece of the project. We know that.
Yep.
All right. So then moving on to communications, I believe. Yep. We received a letter from Tecton regarding inland wetlands. There's just a response back from Jeff regarding their prior meeting. And then today, I know everybody was copied on the other response from land use to the MBC. And I know we had some discussion during Eddie's presentation on that. So I don't think there's anything else to discuss unless somebody else has anything else they want to bring up. All right, so hearing none, we'll move on to invoices. Hey, Jack, you're back up again.
I
All
am?
right. No,
No, Jack, like this.
the other Jack.
Okay.
Jack Butkus, sorry.
All right, moving on to the invoice. We have 5 items in front of us tonight. First is legal services with Robinson and Cole. This was in support of the agreement for the construction manager.
Yeah.
Believe there will be an additional invoice following this one. $7,747.50. The first pre-construction invoice from O&G Industries, $46,153.86, which covered 3 months of services. Architectural services for the month of June for Tecton in the amount of $211,429.17. The most recent pre-con invoice for O&G of $15,384.62. And then one of the third-party reviewers for the Wetlands Commission, Trinkus Engineering, in the amount of $1,710. We will need, in order for O&G to be paid and Trinkus to be paid, we'll need the following. O&G needs to get their comments on the agreement back to us, or sign what we've given them and move it forward for the first selectman's signature. So any approval of the O&G invoices tonight would be contingent on execution of the contract. But if that happens between now and the next building committee meeting, we could at least cut a purchase order and get some payment in process for them. For Trinkus, we need to, as you may recall, the documents that were presented last month from the Wetlands Commission showed allowances for services. They had budget values. In order to pay any of the progress work by these consultants, we would at least have to accept those allowances as a basis of award for a purchase order, and then we could pay them against that purchase order. So to that end, if I could see what's here behind my...
Hey, Jack, I thought we did approve that as a basis for the allowance, contingent upon Rob receiving satisfactory information that this was the most fiscally responsible manner to move forward in. And I think there was communication back and forth post our meeting from the first selectman to Rob and to the NBC doing that. Rob, is that correct?
That is correct. I did not make a follow-up comment regarding them, however, so I
Right.
don't know, maybe I'm the holdup on that.
No, I think if, we received the information and nobody had anything to the negative to say, that we were accepting last month's motion.
That was my understanding, yes.
Yeah, that was mine as well.
That's how
Okay,
the
well, then-
motion read per the minutes.
Then I apologize for missing that nuance, and we will get those purchase orders in process. So our action tonight would be to approve the invoice from Trinkus. We have not, I don't believe we've received anything from Davison as far as an invoice, but I do have the two proposals teed up
Right.
from last month. So
Now, just for everybody understands, now we did receive a communication from land use with amounts due to other consultants. And because there was no time listed or task, just a lump sum, we went back and we sent it back to land use and said, please have them really send us an invoice, which lists, the time and the task that they did. And something that's not, less of an email and more of a formal invoice. So there was some communication back and forth with land use on this.
Thank you, Paul, because I do have concerns with the invoices that we're receiving from land use. And I have concerns that they're writing checks that we have to approve.
Right. Yeah, so we just want to, Emily from Arcadis has been on top of, crossing those T's and dotting those I's for us.
All right, so I'll start it off, make a motion to approve Robinson Cole's invoice for the amount of $7,747.50.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, so moved.
All right, I'll make another motion approving the invoices from O&G's Industries contingent upon contract execution by all parties for the amounts of $46,153.86 and the second invoice for $15,384.62.
Do I hear a second?
Guess I'm the second person.
All right, Colette seconds. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so moved.
Good night, Jeff. I'll make a motion to approve the invoice from Tecton Architects in the amount of $211,429.17.
And that brings us through, I believe, 100% design development.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Should I make him wait another minute?
Well.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, so moved. And the last one for Trink House, I just want to have a clarification. That total invoice is not for just attending the Zoom meeting. There was a little bit more detail behind that. So Jack, just when we issue documents like this, I just want to be careful with the description of service there. Because when I first saw it, I said, how much are they charging for an hour for attending a Zoom meeting?
That's a heck of a meeting. Yes, it was $425 towards the Zoom meeting, and then the comment letter and review and response, $1,285.
Right. I just have one additional comment to make. Though they attended the Zoom meeting, their interaction, and I watched I was on for the wetlands meeting. Their interaction was probably, how can I characterize it?
Courtesy as present.
It was minimal. So I do have concerns moving forward that we're getting charged for people just to have a Zoom meeting on in the background. And we'll watch that carefully for all three consultants for all these boards and commissions.
Agreed.
So that being said, do I get a motion on this?
All right, I'll make a motion as it is within their initial balance and we have received work for the amount of, to Trinket House for the amount of $1,710 for the work that we've all seen thus far.
All right, get a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Yeah, how about discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion. My mistake.
Why are we paying an invoice for a consultant to attend somebody else's meeting?
Because that's the way the regulations are written, that they have the right to hire consultants, third-party consultants to review the work of our consultants and then have them attend the meeting to hear the presentations so they can comment appropriately.
Now, I do agree with Rob in the sense, and I will say moving forward, based upon some of the correspondence we've seen where other firms have worked with Malone and McBroom in trying to develop the best project moving forward and actually be productive about it. I expected more from the latest review letter from Trink House as opposed to just stating Malone and McBroom is flat out wrong and they don't agree. That's not a I wouldn't qualify that as a professional response and due diligence. So moving forward, I think we really need to have a discussion and set expectations to our Wetlands Commission as well as to the building department and whatnot, land use, I should say, in what we need to see if this is going to continue down this road.
Agreed.
Thank you, Josh. That was very well stated.
All right, any other discussion?
Yeah, I had one question. I've been on the Zoom meetings with the Wetlands Commission, and admittedly, I'm kind of new to some of these what goes on in the town meetings. What's the end game here? The implication that I heard, maybe I heard it wrong, was that at the next Wetlands Commission meeting, they were going to approve or disapprove the application for the new school building to be constructed on the site. Did I hear that right? I mean, it didn't sound right.
I'll let Jeff, Eddie, or Darren address that.
I can go. Yeah, I mean, that your understanding is basically correct. They've left the public hearing open till the next meeting, and we're in the process of providing formal responses as we said we would by the 22nd, which is tomorrow, which we will. Believe we've satisfied 2 out of the 3 third parties, and Josh already elaborated on the temperament of the response that was given by Mr. Trinkhouse. So yes, that we're going to the next meeting. The public hearing's still open. They still can ask questions. We will respond, and we're doing everything we can with the professional and courtesy to respond to their questions and modify the design as appropriate. So I don't know if they'll keep it open for another public hearing or another meeting session or not. We would have to, I believe we would have to grant them, and this is Darren, if you could jump in, I believe we would have to grant them an extension on the public hearing to do so.
I mean, is it conceivable that they could stop the project by not granting the application to build there?
Look, Jack, anything's conceivable, but I don't think we're at the time or the venue to discuss next steps if that were the case.
I understand.
So as part of the time frame, this is Darren. They have a certain period under the state statutes to hold a public hearing. And then when they run out of that time, we as the applicant have the ability to grant up to 65 days of extension, really for any part of the process. And then once the hearing is closed, they have another time frame, which I believe is 35 days to render a decision. I wouldn't expect where we're at today that they're going to close the hearing on Monday. I think it'll likely go one more meeting. Could be more. We're not in control of that, but we are certainly making efforts to wrap this up as quickly as we can.
So, that being said, thank you, Darren. We would expect that the Inland Wetlands Commission will take under advisement the critical nature of the project, the fact that we're making a site better than we found it, that we're limited by space and availability of open space where to put a new school building, that this was the will of the public to have this building here, and that the public voted upon it, and that they will act in accordance with the best interest of the overall town of Brookfield at heart, given that we are doing everything we can to mitigate the existing wetlands that are on the existing site. And we hope that they will do due diligence in their review, and we don't expect any free pass. However, we do expect professionalism in their actions and their responses. So, any other further discussion for Trink House's invoice? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So I think that's the last of the invoices, correct, Jack?
That is indeed. Thank you.
All right, so any new business? All right, hearing none. Any public comment? Is there anybody out there, a member of the public? Rosa, if you want to give any input from the Board of Ed side?
No, I don't have anything to say. I was just, most of this stuff I had at the last consortium meeting was up to date with. So,
okay,
for having me here.
No, thank you for coming. All right, so any other public comment? Hearing none. Next regularly scheduled meeting is August 18th, 2020. Anybody else have anything? All right, having no further business and without any objection, move to close the meeting.
You mean I got up and got my power cord just in time for you to adjourn the meeting?
Go play solitaire.
So yeah, sorry to make you get up, Rob.
No worries, I could use the steps.
All right, well, meeting is adjourned then. Thank you, everyone. And
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
we'll see you next month.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.